Hello, everyone, and welcome to this podcast from The Light Review. My name is John Bullock, and today I'm talking to Jason Ford, who's the UK Technical Director of Inventronics. Hello, Jason. How are you today?
I'm good, thanks, John. Good to be speaking with you.
It looks as if you're in the electronics store cupboard there.
Sort of. This is my spare room. Which is now a mini Inventronics test lab, effectively.
Right, I can already see the sort of the trailer for the Hollywood spectacular that comes out of your spare room.
I've got all sorts here, yeah. And the dog's here with me as well, so hopefully she won't make too much noise.
No, I'm sure it'll be fine. Now you're one of the stalwarts from the Osram camp, if you like. Yes. I just wonder what's been the cultural change for you, sort of shifting from Osram to Inventronics. Is it making a big difference, or is your store cupboard still as active as it's ever been?
I mean, really, at a day in, day out operational level, things are all very much the same. It really is because for most of the people in the UK and Europe, it's the same people. It's the same products. The names will gradually change. The branding will gradually change. It's now augmented by additional Inventronics legacy products, so there's more to add to it. It's been very much a joining of equals almost, rather than a takeover. Anybody coming in and saying this is how it's now going to be, this is the way we do it. So it's really joining the two companies together, merging them, and hopefully the outcome will be 1 + 1 = 3, and we'll see how that goes. But very little change at my level.
Okay, because it was interesting when the news first came out, and here am I, an architectural lighting designer, and I'm going, Inventronics? Who's that then? But if you talk to some people, they go, "Oh yeah, we know Inventronics. I mean, they're massive, absolutely massive." And you go, well, "Why haven't I heard of them?" They go, "Well, they don't actually exist in your space, John. That's the thing." So it feels as if that that connection between the two is not necessarily an overlap. It's actually more of a butt joint that Osram approaches from one direction, Inventronics from the other direction, and then we look for the commonality between the two. Is that a fair summary of what we've got?
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at the typical product ranges, so Osram, the vast majority of what we had was in the Osram digital systems, which was our part of Osram, was largely indoor, relatively low power stuff, i.e. less than about 200 watts. And we've got controls and we got LED modules, whereas the Inventronics offer was almost exclusively outdoor, high wattage, big waterproof things that you would often find in powering sports stadium lighting and things like that. So there was some amount of overlap in the sort of the outdoor area. We did have some in the Osram DS lineup, but the Inventronics lineup was far wider in that respect. So yeah, it's been very good. There's not too much overlap there.
Okay, of course, from your historical side of things, the interior architectural aspect of lighting control is the one that is probably going through the biggest sort of sea changes in what we want from lighting control. That's why we're having this conversation today, because you and I have been talking about HUBSENSE and what HUBSENSE can do, and we're putting that up against what should we say, a more conventional approach to interior lighting control. And that just suggests that we are entering a new phase of what we expect to get out of our lighting management. We're not going to get any more enormous savings of energy through source efficiencies, that's never going to happen. You know,
Yeah,
we've
absolutely.
gone from 60 watt to 20 watt to 8 watt. There ain't very much further we can go. But the way that we control these things, that is the one that is where you feel that that's the next step along this journey. I've asked you to put a presentation together almost for me so that I can understand HubSense a little bit better. And we're going to share that with our audience. So, Jason, tell us all about HubSense, will you?
Okay, not a problem, not a problem.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks. So, yeah, as you said, I mean, one of the opportunities that has been much more recent that more people are starting to take up is applying lighting controls wirelessly. It's if you're talking about retrofit of controls, having to put cabling in is something that historically has been, it's a real cost issue. It's the difficulty in adding cabling, it's the cost in adding cabling, man hours doing things like that can really kill projects. So the more recent developments in wireless lighting control are really allowing us to leverage getting controls into applications where previously it was just cost prohibitive. Where we started out with HubSense was to target quite specifically, at least early on, the small to medium size retrofit market, and because there's so many buildings out there that don't have controls, and if we stuck to only controlling it by adding control cables, they maybe never would have controls. So what we developed in partnership with Silvair, so you may have heard of Silvair in the industry. They are our technology partner for some of the software and the wireless, the Bluetooth side of things. We are mainly the hardware providers. Some software, they are largely the software partners. So we've developed this system called HubSense, which is based on standardized Bluetooth mesh for the communication. We're trying to come up with a system that can easily be applied to existing installations. I mean, yes, for sure, you can put it on new builds as well. It's absolutely applicable to new builds, but then it's a cost benefit versus cabling and ease of doing it. Whereas on existing installations, it's really so easy to do. So that's one of the reasons that we focused on that. There's so many existing uncontrolled installations out there, and really trying to get primarily the energy efficiency. So at the moment we're not focusing on architectural effects and things like that. It's mainly about automation of the general lighting to try and leverage the energy savings that we've enjoyed for years with controls like DALI. So that's what we were trying to get to with this. So what we have in our toolbox of bits and pieces is this system of devices that have got Bluetooth nodes in them. So crudely speaking, a node is any device in this respect that's got a Bluetooth communication capability within it. And all of these devices can talk together using standardized Bluetooth mesh. And there's various benefits in using Bluetooth. It's available in almost everybody's mobile phones, so interacting with the system can be easier for users and people doing the commissioning. Bluetooth, it has got very, very strong security credentials as well. And I keep mentioning standardized. It's really important, the standardization out there, because history tells us standardization is ultimately what usually wins out in the end in many mainstream applications. Takes longer to get to market because everybody's got to agree the standardization, but once you're there, you don't have issues with vendor lock-in and things like that. But anyway, in the early days, there were very few products like ours with this available. So that's why Silvair was so keen to partner with us. We could provide the products, they could provide the platform it runs on. And then we have gradually added and increased this range so that now you can see on this slide just a few examples. This is by no means all of them, but we've got little D4i powered sensor nodes to connect to drivers that power them. We've got outdoor nodes. We've got completely wireless, batteryless retractive switches. I mean, these have been on the market for some time using Inocean technology, but we're now adding that to this universe as well. So, maintenance free. Again, even the switches are wireless, so it makes it very easy to apply. And even some sort of hybrid devices. So we have got converters that we can link to DALI products. So if somebody has an application where they need, a particularly unusual driver, maybe, from our Inventronics range, we've got sort of, 1.8 kilowatt outdoor drivers. Well, we don't have that with the Bluetooth built directly in it yet. It might well come, but that's not a problem. We can just add on one of the converters on the front of that, and effectively that big driver becomes part of the mesh. And what you'll see isn't on the picture there is what we would know as an application controller from DALI. So usually with DALI, you have one controller that everything communicates with, and that controller is what manages everything going on. This system is completely decentralized, so every device in the mesh knows what it's supposed to be doing. So there's no single point of failure. If any device fails, the rest of the system still carries on quite happily. So that can make scalability really easy, and there's other benefits like that. And more recently, one of the latest additions has been to add on a gateway. So this system does not need a gateway to operate. It's easily applied to even really, really tiny projects, single room with half a dozen luminaires in it. It's not a problem to retrofit into that application. But if you wanted to get remote interaction with the project, you need a gateway. You need something that's talking between the control mesh on site and the internet. So that's why we now have an IoT gateway that adds on additional capabilities. So we by having this wireless capability there, we're able to easily retrofit. We can just basically, it can be as crude as remove the old luminaire, which may be even halogen or old fluorescent, that's probably due for an update anyway. Maybe it was difficult to justify the cost saving before, but you can just remove that luminaire, replace it with a new LED luminaire, but with wireless built in. You don't need to mess around with the cabling at all. You just old one out, new one in, add the devices to the mesh using your mobile phone, and that's it. And then straight away you've got manual control. If you add sensors, it gives you the automation in there as well that allows you to access the energy saving potential of occupancy and daylight linking, daylight compensation, call it what you want. So it gives us all the tools we need to really deliver benefits in terms of savings, but then it's also really easy to use. So one of the benefits of the way this has all been planned and applied is it's so simple. I've had many customer meetings now where customers may be a bit skeptical, before you have the meeting. They all controls. We don't really want to do controls. We're not sure. It's all complex. It's hard to do. And then an hour later, I've shown them a demo. I've literally created a project from scratch right in front of them with the hardware in a matter of minutes. And it really is so fast, so easy to do. And there's almost no specialized training. I can literally show people the bare bones of how to do basic stuff within 20 minutes. It's really straightforward to do it. And we've got moving on so many projects, particularly because of that. And even when we're on site actually doing the commissioning works towards the tail end of the project, it's really fast there as well. Some DALI systems can be really quite time consuming to commission. You have to flash devices, see where they're flashing, work out where that is on a plan. It's the way this is set up is much faster. Bluetooth is proximity sensitive, so you can easily identify devices that are really close to you, like within a couple of meters, and only add the devices to the control groups that you want them to. So a note on here. We did a car park with over 400 luminaires in about 4 hours, which is fast for people who don't get involved in commissioning. That is really fast. And we actually had 3 people working on the project commissioning at the same time, which is something that also is often not possible with a lot of other systems. So when it all comes to the crunch at the end of projects and people's time is short, sorting out the lighting commissioning is almost always one of the last things that gets done. It's always, handover is tomorrow, needs to be done in a hurry. It's difficult to get quicker than this. And then we can really be scalable as well. Because there is no centralized controller, you can literally start out with one node, one sensor, one little sensor device like this connected to a luminaire. That can be the start of your project. And then you add more as you need to. For sure, you can do 200 in one go if you want to, but if you just want to do one room at a time, you're not sure about the savings you're going to get. You want to prove it out. Not a problem. Start out with one room, handful of luminaires, see how everybody reacts to it, see what benefits you get, and then add on additional rooms and spaces quite easily to the same project. It's almost seamlessly scalable in that respect. When I mentioned software, Internet of Things, some of the things that we've got that are part of the system. We can see on the left here, we've got a dashboard now. So this does need a gateway with the dashboard, but this allows you to remotely get energy and occupancy and emergency test and monitoring data back from the system, so you can get that in a nice desktop app. You don't have to if you don't want to. In the back end, that all runs with APIs, so people who are familiar with the APIs will know that you can create all sorts of machine-to-machine interfaces, linking into far bigger systems seamlessly if you want to, once you've got a gateway with APIs. But we have this simple dashboard anyway. And for doing what we call the pre-commissioning, on the right there, you can see the software the platform that we use for initially setting the project up. And it's a little bit juxtaposed to what people are often used to, usually with controls projects. Almost nothing is done until everything is installed, ready to go. And then a commissioning engineer will go to site, and that's when everything starts. What this platform allows is to set everything up in this web-based software tool before people have even put a spade in the ground. So you can add a drawing plan, you can add all the control groups, configure the control groups, even have Teams meetings or Zoom meetings with clients to discuss and agree the details of how things are going to interact. Because very often, in my experience, people say they want controls in their building, and then you say, well, okay, what time delay do you want here? Oh, well, I don't know. What do you want daylight linking there? Oh, I'm not sure. And what this allows you to do is to be able to plan it, come up with a proposal, and put that forward and get that all agreed before all the hardware is installed on site. And all those little tweaks and things that normally have to happen after the main commissioning, you can tease a lot of that out up front, get all the agreements on time delays before the main commissioning work has already been done. So it's a much more sensible way of doing it. At least I think it makes a lot more sense there. So we do that setup work, and then when we actually go to doing the commissioning on site, it's very convenient. It's via a mobile app. So we have app for iOS that's shown here, or Android, and it's very intuitive to use, very simple. If you're doing very straightforward controls, you can almost just play with it and get your head around it without any training at all. It really is that simple to do. But it's very straightforward, easy to navigate around, not too complicated. I've seen other systems on the market that have fantastic capabilities, but then people look at the app and are just completely bewildered because there's too much going on there. So it really is user friendly to get your head around and start using. And I think because of this flexibility and the ease of use, there's not many places you can't use it. Our main focus initially was Office, because it was so straightforward. We were going to focus Office, retrofit, small and medium size. That was the day one target. But as we have grown the product offer, even things like we've now got drivers, track-based drivers with the Bluetooth chip in, like this one. So retail spotlights, it's now dead easy. You just remove the old track, non-dimmable driver, put this in, and you've got dimmability, add a sensor, you've got automation. We've got outdoor sensors as well. So this is, a Zaga-based outdoor sensor, light sensors, motion sensors. So it's equally applicable indoor, outdoor, warehousing. There's not many places that it doesn't make obvious sense to use this system. We see it as benefits for everybody. If we look at facility managers, the actual luminaire OEMs, and the installers, if you're the facility manager, particularly if it's an existing building, you don't want a lot of downtime while works are going on. So we can have very short downtime because it's so quick to commission. You can plan on a desktop, so a lot of time can be taken planning on a desktop. Well, that's not disturbing anybody else. But when you're actually doing the commissioning, it's, as I said, luminaire out, new luminaire in, add to the mesh, and that's it, pretty much, job done. And you can gradually update as well, do it room by room. We did an ambulance call center, for example, where it's a 24/7 operation. You can't just close the whole call center, but they could do clusters of desks at a time. So, do one set of desks, and people can avoid those set of desks while that's being done, then gradually move around the space. So it does allow for that gradual update capability. Or classrooms in schools, again, you can do a classroom at a time. That sort of thing that we're talking about. And if you do want to modify and adjust the way spaces are used, or you change your mind in how you want the control strategies, very easy to do with this system. It's all wireless, so you don't have to worry about rerouting control cables or anything like that. It's really all done over the air in the apps. And for the luminaire OEMs, it means it gives them a new value add, a new offer that they can put forward. And also, for some, it means that because it is so easy, we've got luminaire manufacturers now who previously wanted nothing to do with controls. If it said this project needs Dali luminaires, they would provide a Dali luminaire, and that was it. They didn't want to get involved in anything else, commissioning or planning or providing sensors or anything like that, because it was a bit of a black art. But with this system, they can see it's so easy. We have now got customers that are literally taking this and saying, yeah, well, why should I lose that? Why should somebody else get the benefit of dealing with the control side of it? I can do that myself. It's really, really straightforward to do. And for the installer, I've kind of mentioned, you're not adding in cabling. You don't need an internet connection during normal operation. It does briefly need internet while you're commissioning it. But once that's done, effectively, you're not connected to the internet for normal day in, day out operation if you're not using a gateway for energy monitoring and stuff like that. And we can have, as I mentioned, several people commissioning at the same time. You can actually have 5 people moving around the same project at the same time, all adding devices to the project. And actually, you can be adding up to 5 on each mobile app at the same time. So just to put that into context, so you at any point in time, you could be simultaneously adding 25 devices to a project in any one instance, and it takes 10 to 15 seconds to add a device. So as you can imagine, that's why it can really be so quick to do that. So the simple steps are, we do the planning, the pre-commissioning that I mentioned. You do that on the desktop app. Sit there nice and comfy in your desktop app, plan it all out, take your time. You're not rushed with time pressure on site. Quick, we've got to get this handed over tomorrow. So you can make sure you've got a really optimized solution for the application. And then we come to the installation stage, and this is where the other benefit is the installer. If they're not being involved in the commissioning, they don't need to know anything about the system at all, because all they need to do is remove an old luminaire, put a new luminaire up, remove an old sensor, if there even was an old sensor, and put a new sensor in. That's it. All of the knowledge of the control system can all be handled by whoever's done the pre-commissioning or whoever's doing the post-commissioning. So really quick and easy to do. So installers don't need to worry about this new system. There's no worried about all cable polarities and things like that, because they're just not there. Most things are literally just live and neutral to the devices, and that is it. And then the final step is that on-site commissioning with mobile apps. It's really handy to do, as I show, as we can see on the screen here, using an iPad. Just gives you a nice big screen. You can easily move around. But iPhones, Android phones work equally well. Fast and easy to do. Really simple to get that commissioning done in the end. And doing modifications is also really quick as well, because if somebody wants to make a change, the system allows for you to have somebody with the detail knowledge of the system to make a change to the project in the cloud. Maybe it's a time delay. You've set 10-minute time delay in a corridor, and the client says, that's not long enough, I want 15 minutes. That's not a problem. You can change that setting in the cloud. All you need to correct that on site is for somebody with access to the project. They literally just need a phone and to be given access to the project. They just need to be on site, open the project. Once the change has been made in the cloud, the device, when it's on site, will know that change needs to be made. You get a button saying configure, you hit configure, it uploads the change. So you don't need to know how that all works. Untrained people can make those corrections on site very, very easily. People who know can set it up, and people who don't know can implement it. So it's a really, really great little feature, that. So we end up with, really, really opening up lots of places where we can put lighting controls now very easily, very cost effectively, where it was just, difficult or cost prohibitive to before. Really easy to do as well. So we keep the costs low, we keep the ease very high, easily scalable for rollouts. People are often budget constrained month on month or year on year. And we can say, yeah, it's not a problem. You don't have to do everything at day one. You can do these rooms this month, those rooms next month, that building next year, just gradually roll it out over time. Nice and straightforward for that upgrade. And the other benefit is, all of the devices, because they're all talking this same standardized Bluetooth language, how far you go is up to you. If you want to add a gateway, you just add the gateway, and that adds additional capabilities. You don't have to change anything else in the rest of the system. So all the other devices that you put in at day one stay the same. You just add the gateway. Or even before that, you could start out with just manual control. We've had this in some schools where they say, well, we can't afford all the additional sensors for automation at the moment, but we do want to be able to easily manually switch the lights on and off, with providing for an upgrade later. Not a problem. You change the luminaires with the Bluetooth in, manual switching at day one, and then when you're able to afford to add the sensors, add them, even one sensor at a time, do one corridor at a time, and gradually enhance the system as you go. So it really does make everything just easy to achieve those benefits of cost saving, energy saving with these new control systems. I hope I haven't rambled on too much there, and that all made sense. I could talk about this for weeks, but
I know. No, there was no, Jason. There was no rambling there. It's kind of my job to sort of look at envelopes and give them a bit of a push. One of the, how to put this, conventionally, historically, and traditionally, lighting control was a scene-setting operation. Mm-hmm. For big houses, for hotels, for whatever it might be. Multiple scenes, very often manually controlled. So a restaurant manager would go in and go, I think we'll go to setting 3 now, until I go to setting 4 a little bit later. Now, I don't think that level of granular control, if you will, has really been resolved with wireless control. I'm not talking specifically about HUBSENSE. I'm just talking about the whole wireless control thing, because I'm used to having on a wall 4 different push buttons for 4 different scenes, or 8 push buttons for 8 different scenes. I'm not seeing that at the moment with this kind of retrofit wireless control. Do you think we're far away from it, or have I been reading the wrong paper? And it's already out there.
Sort of yes and no. So some of that capability we have already got, even with this system. So depending on how you configure the control group, we can have up to 4 scenes within a control group with the HUBSENSE system. So that's already there. So using one of the InOcean switches, so for example, I've got this switch here.
Yeah.
It's a 2 button switch. You've got scene A, B, C, D on there, depending on how you've configured it. So that is there already. Most control groups usually only have 2 scenes. So you would have on, off, dim up, dim down, scene A, scene B. So that's kind of the default for the way it's configured.
Okay.
But as far as we go at the moment, it's up to 4. More beyond that is absolutely possible. Again, a lot of this is not a constraint of the Bluetooth. It's not a constraint of the devices. It's really development of the software, the firmware that goes with it. Sometimes firmware updates are needed, but they're over-the-air updates usually. So if you did need to add a feature that wasn't available in a device because it had an older firmware level, usually you can just do a firmware update, takes a minute or so, and then that new feature is there. And probably more of this is down to the software development, making these features available within the wider system. But it's just a matter of time, and that is time and resources, and some of that is down to where the key focus is, and that the key focus early on has been energy saving. That's clearly been where we were at day one. I think I mentioned to you the other week, before we had the issues with COVID, people were starting to focus a lot more on quality of light and tunable white. And okay, it often got knocked out of projects because of incremental cost, but it was something people were quite focusing on. Or, that was the next thing to do because people had already gone LED. Then all of a sudden, COVID, energy crisis, costs for energy get crazy, and then everyone's just trying to save energy wherever they can as much as possible. So the focus recently has definitely been back on the energy saving. Hopefully over time energy costs will gradually come down, although I think analysts are saying in the long term they're not going to get back to where they were. But it means that the focus was on delivering energy saving primarily, and these other features, multiple scenes, tunable white, multi-channel, as we were mentioning the other day, will start to come over time, I think.
Yeah, it is interesting as well that an awful lot of this comes down to how creative your designer is going to be. I had a client once who actually it was an important piece of information for me. He said, "Please don't give me more than four switches, 4 dimmers, 4 push buttons, because after that it starts to get complicated, and my granny would never understand it." And I go, "Okay, so everything we do at a single control point will be limited to 4 actions. So if I've got a combined kitchen diner, well, just put in 2 lots of 4, put in 3 lots of 4. You can have as many scenes as you want, but they don't have to be on one control plate." So that's about the designer writing the script for the client to go, "That's the sort of thing I'm looking for." So that sort of 4 push button in Ocean probably gets us there today. And wherever we go from here, and of course, tunable white is going to be a bit tricky because every time we use a tunable white, we've just doubled up on the number of channels that we need to control. So we'll see where we go with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jason, that's been great, and there's an awful lot in there to think about. The stuff in there that's familiar. We can see where that's come from. Silvair, I've known Silvair for the last getting on for 10 years probably, and that's good sound technology. And I think that the more we look at this, and the more we recognise all of those benefits that you've been talking about, the more realistic it becomes. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you for your time today. That's been terrific, and look forward to seeing. Well, I don't normally time sort of stamp these kind of things, but we're going to try and get this out early. We are at the beginning of October 2024, and on the 21st and 22nd of November 2024, it will be Light 24 at Business Design Centre in London. Inventronics will be there, and I believe you are featuring HUBSENSE.
Yes, we will have HUBSENSE on the stand. We'll be showing things like I'm showing here. So this is an example of our dashboard, remote emergency monitoring. Well, I say remote. These devices are actually on my left here, about 2 feet away, but this is actually being displayed over the internet via our gateway. Occupancy monitoring, energy monitoring, things like that. So we will have this on the stand if people want to see it. I'll also be able to show this is the web-based tool for doing the commissioning on a project. It's really nice intuitive to use, very straightforward. So yeah, if anybody wants to discuss it, come to the stand. Hopefully I'll have my little mini PC there running this stuff, and I can show people live how it all works if they want to see that.
Okay. Well, that's great. And we're going to look forward to that. And I look forward to seeing you face to face, in person, on the 21st of November. Thank you all for your time. I hope that Jason has opened the doors of lighting control perception a little bit broader for you this morning. And see you all out there. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Thank you.